My name is Storm Chaser Aaron Jayjack, and I'm here today to talk about storm chasing, my storm chasing in 2022. Tornadoes, hurricanes, and blizzards even. Nature is dangerous and can be deadly, but it's also beautiful at the same time.
Holy shit!
If I look at all my years of storm chasing, it's been my best year of storm chasing, capturing tornadoes. I've been very successful out there. I get out there, I chase storms, and the days I produce tornadoes and I'm out there, I'm usually near 100% capturing some kind of tornado footage from those days. So Winterset, Iowa in March 5th. It was the first tornado I saw of 2022. And it was a big monster EF4 tornado. Unfortunately, it did kill people. It was a deadly tornado. Big tornado came right through there. I was right there as it formed.
Big tornado forming! Big tornado forming!
Of course, as a storm chaser, you never want to see tornadoes or hurricanes or anything cause death or injuries. Initially, just outside of town, and I was able to track it a little bit close, a few miles outside of town, before the road network cut me off and then disappeared in the rain and ended up causing the damage and the death in Winterset. And then after that, just a couple of weeks later, I was in Texas. This setup looked like it was going to be ground zero. It was going to be Austin, Texas, the hill country right around that I-35 corridor, tracked to the east towards me, and became this big cone. It was coming down. I could see the rain curtains just wrapping around as it came towards me. And one of the ways you can tell a tornado is coming at you is that it doesn't move left or right, and it continues to get bigger. And that's exactly what was happening. Is that it wasn't moving left or right. It was coming right to me, getting bigger. I was almost mesmerized by this tornado as it came about. The rain curtains just swirling around, and I was like, oh, I gotta get out of here. I gotta get out of the way.
Holy shit! Monster tornado!
So I get on the road, I head south, get out of the way of the path of the storm, and drive to catch back up with it. And it hit a farm or a house and a storage place.
Debris everywhere! Just missed that house!
And I can hardly see it, barely see it. There's just rain swirling around, strong winds at my back. So the tornado was right there. And I'm driving along, and all of a sudden,
oh shit! Oh shit! Power line! Broke my windshield.
Bam! I hit a power line. It was power lines that come down, and it hit the windshield, and it cracked my windshield. And that was the second big chase of 2022. It was Taylor, Texas. Another tornado set up in Arkansas. And this was another case of one of those, I would mention, most tornadoes I see don't condense all the way down to the ground. You don't see that funnel all the way down to the ground. And that's what happened on this day in Arkansas. What I did see was one of the most amazing wall clouds and mesocyclones just spinning in just a perfect, looked like a cinnamon roll up there. You hear me out in the video. It's got a cinnamon roll spinning overhead, something like that.
Cinnamon fell right overhead! Big tree fell down right next to me!
It's just an absolutely beautiful storm, incredible storm. It did produce a tornado. I could see the debris spinning up off to my side. I traveled a few miles down the road tracking the storm, and all of a sudden these big baseball hailstones started coming down, blew out my first windshield of the year. I started off north of Wichita. Saw a tornado, tracked down a storm, had a tornado, saw a little needle. I was north of the tornado, and I saw a little needle coming down. And then just to my west, right when I was in this little town north of Wichita, I see a big RFD cut in the line, incredible sunset, orange glowing sky, dust clouds spinning on the ground, multiple tornadoes formed, and one passed right past me. If that's out in the open fields, that's just like a perfect specimen of tornado that I'm trying to capture the beauty from out there where it doesn't cause any damage. But fortunately, this one was right in downtown Andover, Kansas, ripped through some neighborhoods, caused some significant home damage. As long as you take precautions, most of the time you're gonna be okay. This hot zone in Texas, this triangle in Texas that I have seen so many tornadoes at over the last couple of years. So I moved down to Texas. I'm like, okay, I'm gonna go get this supercell. It's coming towards me. I'll be able to get in front of it. Probably has a good chance of producing tornadoes. Looking off to the west, and I could just tell the storm was about to mean business, about to produce a tornado. I get my drone up in the air and I get all set up to record. Sure enough, tornado forms, churning up this red dust, flying the drone towards the tornado. Strong inflow winds are sucking into the tornado. Drone starts flying all the way around. I'm like, oh, all around, getting tossed around by the winds. I'm like, oh no, I'm not gonna be able to get this thing into the tornado. We're close to the tornado, I'm fighting it. I actually had to stop and abandon the drone because the tornado was coming right at me on the road. I had to adjust a little bit south, get out of the way of the tornado, get back, trying to take a couple shots, pictures of the tornado, and then I'm trying to get the drone back. Eventually it crash landed. It didn't really crash land, but eventually it sets down in a field. One of the most surreal, incredible experiences of my life happened while trying to track down that drone. So the tornado passed, I'm all, adrenaline rush from all that. I felt so tiny in this big field, looking at the storm, but at the same time it was like one of the most peaceful, amazing experiences of my life. I'll drive 20,000 miles for those little moments. It's worth it, even if it's just a few minutes. For me, it's worth it, and I guess I'm a different breed. That's what I love. August rolls around. So August is the big month in Canada, for me at least. We are out on a camping trip. My wife and I think there's gonna be a tornado tomorrow, about an hour and a half from where we're camping. I'm like, let's go set up camp. We'll wake up in the morning, we'll cook some camp breakfast. We saw this incredible supercell come across the lake, and it produced a rare, very rare, super rare tornado. I'm looking at my first tropical cyclone chase of the year, being in, of all places, Southern California. Strong winds actually bringing down trees.
Oh, there we go! Oh! Big trees down! Big tree! Wow!
This was one of the scariest chases of my life, actually. This was prime rock slide weather.
It just came down the mountain, and literally big boulders are coming down off the side of the mountain. Big ones in the road, little ones coming down all around me while I was driving by. The police have some lanes blocked off just ahead there on the eastbound lane, I-8, just to the west of Osito.
I was terrified. It was the scariest moment of my life out there. These big boulders are coming down at any moment, so I'm watching, I'm ready to hit the gas or the brakes if I need to. So I start tracking the floods, flying the drone, huge floods washing across the landscape, captured these big washes going into the Salton Sea, and it was a pretty incredible experience to chase a storm like that in Southern California of all places. So September started off with a bang. September would end up being my busiest chase month, a month of chasing in my entire career. Chasing after supercells, see some incredible supercells, especially this one going across this lake in Minnesota. It was beautiful. Flew the drone, glass, water, sunset, beautifully slanted supercell on there, and then I drive back home to southern Manitoba. I'm home I stay the night, sleep in the night there, and then the next day I had to catch a plane to go to Nova Scotia because down in the Caribbean is a big hurricane going on. Get to Nova Scotia, get in the path of the storm, and it comes through. I'm in Sydney, Nova Scotia, and big time winds causing damage and knocks out power. And while I'm there, I'm also watching the next potential chase target. So I'm in the midst of a chase and I'm planning my next chase, which looks like could be a hurricane coming up through the Caribbean into the Gulf and then potentially hitting the western peninsula of Florida. And this would end up being Hurricane Ian. So Hurricane Ian batters Punta Gorda. And eventually I had to make a little bit of an adjustment to the south. I'm like, okay, I want to get in the eye, center of the eye. Like, I'm going to have to move. So eventually I moved a little south of Punta Gorda. I got right in that eye. It was a dirty, murky eye, so it wasn't that clear eye. I didn't have blue sky. But I did see some glimmers of sun. I saw the sun for a brief second between clouds. And you could see the wall, that stadium effect wall, because it was dark in a circle all around me. Eventually the winds did calm down in the center of that eye. And then I made my way to Fort Myers Beach because I was like, I think the strongest surge probably happened in Fort Myers Beach. So I booked a hotel to spend the night there and bed myself with the locals that have evacuated.
And I just talked to the gentleman that lives in this yellow house right here behind me. He said the water got into his second floor. He was here for the storm. And when the eye came through, he dove off his house and swam over to this greenhouse right here for the rest of the storm. Were you the only one here in this area?
No, Dave across the street.
It's only a few of you.
Yeah, he was going to throw a throat to me and pull me in.
Oh my God.
But I made it.
That's pretty terrifying, right?
I mean, it's been down here like 30 years. It just sucked.
Kind of capture that story and then capture, of course, my least favorite part, the aftermath. Things are back to normal. Things may not go back to normal at all in some locations. You know, some places might get wiped out, buildings and stuff, and they're never going to come back. The people that come together after the fact, and you know, first responders and just humanity kind of coming together to try and make things right again. That's still really the only beauty that comes out of a hurricane. And that would cap off my busiest month ever of storm chasing in my career. That's September 2022. So I covered all 4 corners of North America and the center in basically about 30 days time. What I'm trying to do out there as a storm chaser, kind of my feelings, you know, how it is to be a storm chaser. It's a grind. It takes a lot of grit. You don't want to miss a photogenic tornado, a career tornado, because it may be, like I said, 30,000 miles of driving before you see the next one. I don't take any of them for granted. Very grateful to be able to be out there and doing what I do, because I love it.
Don't be scared, guys. It's just Storm Chaser Aaron Jayjack, and I'm here to tell you about the weather this week. I plan to chase severe weather.
Hockey. You want to play hockey? Yeah. Okay.
We gotta put him back in the water now. Uh-oh. He just kissed.
Come on. He's doing the splits. Wow. Yeah. What did you find? What is that?
Look at that. You found an E.